Valid question. How would my top 3 tips for better granny squares work when we change the color in each round? Well, hey there and welcome to the Totally Fierce Crochet channel. My name's Thomas. In my previous video, I shared with you my top 3 tips to make your granny squares look better. And some of you were questioning how these 3 tips would translate into granny squares that are worked with multiple colors. So, here we go. To be honest, I didn't plan to make this tutorial before I read all your comments and questions. But then I decided to just split my upcoming next tutorial, which involves multicolored granny squares, to give you a closer look at how I change the color in my granny squares in each round, including all of my top 3 tips to make your granny squares better. So if you haven't watched my previous video with the 3 tips, make sure to check it out. And once you tackle the 3 techniques that I'm showing there, you can then continue by adding colors, as many as you wish, for as big of a granny square that you want to have it, just like I did it. But before showing you how to do different colors for each round in a absolutely seamless and perfect way, I just want to take a sec to say big thank you to all of you for all your sweet comments, for all your support, especially about my top 3 granny square tips video. I absolutely appreciate it. It came totally unexpected, and thank you so much for each comment, the good ones, the critiques, the additional tips, the background information. They are all much appreciated, and I had so much fun reading them and replying to all of them. So thank you. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Here's your splash of color. So you all know these 3 samples that I made for the last video. And of course, version 3 was my favorite. And since a few of you were asking how my top 3 tips for better granny squares would look like with changing colors for each round, here we go. It would look a little bit like this. I made this for another project actually. So I decided to just split the video in 2 parts. One part would be to show you how to easily change the color for each round and still keeping that super squarish, super clean and symmetrical look. I mean, this is not blocked at all and it looks just beautiful. Of course, you can block it if you want to enhance the squarish shape. I have a video about how to block crochet pieces, but to be honest, I will most probably just use it as is. Both sides look awesome. I have to warn you before, I won't carry the yarn strands with me, so that later on I can just cut them. For a super clean look like this one here, I will later on sew it in, basically, but you'll see that in a minute. And for those of you who haven't watched my other top 3 crochet tips tutorial, you will get all the tips and tricks that I used for my granny squares in this tutorial as well, so you don't miss a thing. Anyway, it's always helpful to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the future tips and you don't miss how to make such a beautiful big granny square. So for this, and since we are like a few days away from Pride Month, of course I had to do something with Pride. So for that reason, I bought myself basically a rainbow palette of different cotton yarns, and I can't even fit it all in here. It's again a 100% cotton. It's Rainbow Cotton and Friends Cotton, both from Hobbii, my favorite yarn brand. and it's a 8/8 quality, so it's the thickest one. And the recommendation would be to use a 3.5 to 4 millimeter hook. Of course, I'm using a 4 millimeter hook for this tutorial. And of course, what you also need is a yarn needle and some scissors to cut off the yarn. So to prepare all this, I mean, the typical rainbow has only 6 colors, I think. But since I wanted to go into a bigger space, so I decided for basically 10 colors. Initially also planned for a different project, but you know how things are. You sometimes just change your mind. To not get confused, I also put like numbers on the yarn balls, so I know which color comes first, especially with all the yellow, orange, red tones. Sometimes I get confused depending on where the yarn is. So just so that you don't worry. Again, we start in the center and we are going to start with the purple. So again, I'm starting with the magic ring, or shall I say my awkward way of making a magic ring. One of my commenters said that they think my way of making the magic ring was a bit awkward. And that's why I also mentioned in the video that I probably don't have the most elegant way of making it, but it works, and this is all that matters. So you find your own way. If you struggle with the magic ring, maybe this technique then is something for you. So I wrap the yarn around my fingers like this to create this sort of an X in the front, and then I'm twisting my hand towards the camera in that case, or towards my face, and then I go in there and grab the yarn from there, pull it over the X, and then go down on the other side and grab the yarn again to create like these 2 loops on the hook, and then I'm just going to slip stitch through them, and then I can release everything, and by dragging this yarn here, I get the circle, and by dragging the end piece of yarn, I can make the circle a bit smaller. And here we go, my kind of awkward magic ring. But I'm sure you have other methods, so go ahead, it's all fine. And as with my tips video, we start with a fake double crochet or a stacked single crochet. So you put the hook into the magic ring, grab the yarn, pull the yarn through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through 2 loops. So you basically made a single crochet. And then we are going back into that front loop right here, just like this. Grab the yarn, pull it through, pull everything a bit up, and then yarn over again and pull through the 2 loops. And here you have your fake double crochet. And then we can continue with our double crochet clusters. So for the first cluster, we now need 2 more double crochets. Here we go. Then we chain 2, because this is then also our corner space. And we make 3 more clusters of double crochets, all in the magic ring. And each cluster is separated by a chain 2. So here we go. I have my 4 clusters of double crochet. Then by dragging on my end yarn here, I can close the magic ring just like this. And now we can close the first round. Again, we do it like I showed it in option 3 of my tips tutorial. I'm going to make a half double crochet in the top of my fake double crochet right here. And for that, you yarn over, grab the yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 of the loops, so you get like in the center of your corner to start with your next round, and in this case also with the next color. So what we can do already is to cut the purple color, grab, in my case, the pink one. The way how I change the color for my granny squares is actually pretty simple. So this was the end of round 1, and to start round 2, I'm just going to take the next color, pull it over, and pull it through the loop. I'm going to like pull the purple one, the previous one, very tight, and also lay it a bit in front of my work. And the same I do with the pink yarn end here. And now I can start round 2 just as if I didn't have changed the color, with a fake double crochet. So you get into that corner space and make a single crochet first, then go back into that front bar, grab the yarn, pull it through, pull everything up a little bit, yarn over and pull through, and then we can immediately continue with the next 2 double crochets in the pink color to finish our first cluster here, just like this. Now we can leave the yarn ends behind. Those we are going to sew in the end, and it's no big deal, so it's totally fine to just leave them. And we go directly into the next corner space and make our typical clusters. And I'll meet you back when I finish the round number 2 with the pink color, and to show you how to switch to the next color. So see you then. Here we go, it's the end of the pink round, and we finish it the same way like we did it before. We make a half double crochet into the top of our fake double crochet. So you yarn over, go in that top loop from the fake double crochet, grab the yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 of them. And round number 2 with the second color is done. We can now cut the pink and move on to the next color, this darker red. And again, we change the color the same way. You pull the next color over your hook, pull it through the loop on your hook with the previous pink color, tighten the pink yarn up a little bit, take the pink yarn in front of your work and the end yarn from the next color as well, and we start again with our fake double crochet by making a single crochet first and then go back into that front bar, grab the yarn, pull it through, pull everything up, and yarn over and pull through. And again, we make 2 more double crochets and can just continue regularly. We leave the yarn ends behind, go into that next space, no chain needed. You just go in and work your next cluster of 3 double crochets in there. And then we are at the next corner. We make 3 double crochets, then a chain 2 because this is the corner, and 3 more double crochets. And I'll meet you once I'm done with round number 3 and the darker red to continue with the regular red. See you. And here we go. The third color is in there. And we now have to just close the round again with the half double crochet in the top of our fake double crochet. Here we go. 3 loops on your hook and just pull it through. And you can immediately tell how awesome they also look with different colors. And I think the effect is even more visible with different colors than I had it here in my other tips tutorial. They just work perfectly together. You always have that typical square shape and everything is symmetrical. All the holes are the same. And I'm just super, super happy with it. Probably the first time I could say I'm really happy with my granny squares. And without any much more talking or without any further ado, let's just continue because I can't wait to have my next full one. So we can cut the red yarn or the dark red yarn and move on with the next color. So again, I'm showing it to you again. It's so easy. So you put the yarn over your hook, pull it through the darker red yarn, pull on the dark red yarn end to have everything tight. Put the dark red yarn end in front of your work, and same with the regular red yarn end, and continue without turning, without chaining with the fake double crochet. Make a single crochet first, go in the front bar, grab the yarn. Here I missed one of the strands, which is okay. You can just grab it again, pull the yarn through, yarn over and pull through, and we can continue with the next color. Everything else is the same. So I will meet you back when I have all my colors worked in there, all my 10 colors, and then I'm going to show you how to sew the yarn ends in and to cut off the yarn, and then you are free to do whatever you want to do with your multicolored granny squares. And you better watch out for what I'm going to do with my 2 big ones, the Pride ones, my first Pride project. So again, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. A little Pride inspiration. Hey again. So you might wonder why I'm not taking the end yarn with me to crochet everything in, and I'm going to show you why. So basically when you sew in those ends already while crocheting, you would keep those yarn ends over your work and you would crochet right over them, basically like this. Let's just make another one, because then you can see it better and then I can explain it better. So now I'll crochet it all over. And what you can already see, I mean, when you have a project with just one color, you wouldn't have that same effect. I mean, you have the red color from the previous round, and you have the orange color now from the next round. And here in those gaps, in those holes here, you always can see both of those yarn strands peeking through. And personally, I think this just looks super ugly. This is not what I want to have my granny squares look like. And it takes away a lot from the perfection it has all over. And that's basically the reason why for a project like this, I just don't carry the yarn with me, the yarn ends, because I don't want those yarn strands or colors to peek through where there shouldn't be that kind of color. So I'm going to take them back where they belong in the back of my work, and I'm going to sew them in later on to have a super clean look. So here we are, round 10. All the colors that I picked for this Rainbow Pride project are now in my big granny square. And again, I haven't stretched it out, I haven't blocked it. Here's how it looks like. I mean, I'm literally dying when I see something like this because it's so simple yet so beautiful. I'm absolutely living for all the colors and even the shine of the yarn. I mean, it looks so good in reality. This is just 100% me. And now I can finish it off. We do it exactly like I showed it to you in the tips tutorial with the invisible finish, basically. So we chain 2, then we cut the yarn, then we pull the yarn through, grab your yarn needle. Here's the top of our fake double crochet. We are going into the stitch right after that, from the front to the back. And then we take the yarn needle and go into that last chain element right here, and we go from the top, basically in the back loop of that chain 1 space here, pull the yarn a little bit so that it looks like a regular stitch, turn your work and incorporate it in there. And you probably already saw parts of the drama in the back with all the loose ends. But trust me, it's absolutely no issue. And we are going to handle this next. So here we go. This one we can already cut. And now comes the drama. In the back is basically this. All the yarn ends that I left. Here you can see them better. I mean, it's not super dramatic. A lot of people are afraid of yarning in the ends, but since we already crocheted over half of them by starting our rounds, it's not that difficult actually to sew them in and to cut them. And once you've done it, you're done. It's all finished. So don't worry. I will show you exactly how I sew in those yarn ends. And we are just starting from the top to the bottom. And so you grab your yarn needle and put those 2 yarn strands in. And then what we are going to do is that we are going to yarn, or that we are going to sew in the yarn from this side where it stands, it comes out all the way through to this end here, and then we can cut it already. But what I always do when I sew in the yarn is that I'm trying to really go through the yarn that is already there. And here, for that case, I think you can see it also here, you have like parts of a loop or a stitch hidden behind those double crochets, and I'm really pushing through it. So you need a little bit of push to go through it, and the more strength or the more push you need to get it through, the better, because that means you really go through the fabric, through the yarn, and with that, the yarn should be secure. And now we go to the other way. When there are things sticking out a little bit, like here and there, you can still push it a little bit. And once you have it on the other side, you can then just cut it off. Make sure to not cut your work through. Sometimes it happens to me as well. And just like that, your yarn end is gone. Let's continue with the next one. So you put the yarn ends, both of them, on your yarn needle. And then we go back in. I'm looking for that. Here you can see it. And I usually always go to the middle first. And you see I have to drag quite a bit with a bit of power to get it through. And that usually is a good sign that everything is in there and secure. And once you have it through, just cut it. A few more. I'll show you again. You just push everything away, and here you have it. That now it was even with a sound, which is all fine. The more pressure you have in there, the more secure your yarn will be. And here we go. And the next one. Let's see if I get another sound. Here it is. And now there's only the end of my magic ring left in the center. And we are just going to hide a little bit of that in the middle. Just to be 100% sure, but it didn't open while I was doing the rest, so I think it should be all locked in. And here we go. So it wasn't that big of a deal, actually. And the multicolored granny square is done. And now I have my two almost identical squares, pretty from both sides, ready for their next chapter. And I hope you subscribe to my channel to see what I am about to do with those two beautiful big rainbow squares. You got it? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you now understand how to change the colors for each round in a granny square, and also using my top 3 tips to make your granny squares look better. And as you can see, I'm so in love with this. It's a perfect square with seamless color changes. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next video, where I will show you what I'm going to do with those two beautiful rainbow granny squares. May it be a blanket, may it be a bra, may it be earrings. I will show you next time. So see you then. Bye.